My fiance's family mocked me in Chinese for years until I gave my speech in Mandarin, and I want to tell you about the rehearsal dinner where I let it out. My fiance's name is May. We had been together for 4 years. May's family had emigrated from Taiwan when May was 8. May's family had specific opinions about who May should marry. I am white. I am the kind of man May's family had been not picturing for her. The thing May's family had not been knowing was that I was fluent in Mandarin. My grandmother had been a missionary in Taipei in the 1960s. My grandmother had spoken Mandarin to me from the time I was small. May and I had been speaking Mandarin in private for 4 years. We had been speaking English in front of her family. May had wanted to see how her family would behave when they had assumed I could not understand. May's family had been mocking me at every family event for 4 years. May's mother was named Yihan. Yihan had been the architect. Yihan had been telling May in Mandarin in front of me that our future children were going to be confused and unattractive. Yihan had been telling May that May could still leave me. May's father, Wei Lin, had been the enabler. May's older sister, Su Mei, had been making comments about how I dressed and about my hair. I had been keeping a private record. The record had about 140 entries by the time of the rehearsal dinner. The rehearsal dinner was at a Taiwanese restaurant. The dinner had 36 people. Yihan had been making comments throughout. Yihan had said in Mandarin to her sister that she could not believe her daughter was marrying this. Yihan had said our grandchildren were going to be ugly. Yihan had then said, I hope he says something embarrassing in his speech because the speech is going to be in English, so I will not have to listen. I had been planning a speech in English. I made a decision in 4 seconds. The host introduced me. I picked up the microphone. I started in Mandarin. I said, good evening. Before I begin my prepared remarks, I want to share something that has been on my mind for 4 years. The room had gone silent. Yihan's face had gone white. I said, my grandmother had been a missionary in Taipei in the 60s. I have been fluent in Mandarin my entire life. I had been keeping it private because I had been wanting May to fall in love with me as I was, rather than for what I could understand. I said, I have heard everything that has been said about me at family events for 4 years. I want to thank Yihan specifically for the comments tonight at her table. The comments about my children being ugly were a particularly creative addition. I have been keeping a record. The record has approximately 140 entries. The record includes the time Yihan said at last year's Lunar New Year that I was a failure of a son-in-law. The record includes the time Su Mei said at the engagement party that I looked like a sad horse. The record includes the time Wei Lin laughed when Yihan said I would probably leave May within 5 years for a younger woman. I continued, I love your daughter. I am marrying her tomorrow. The marrying is going to happen regardless of what you have been saying. I am asking you to stop. I am asking you to consider whether you want to be in our lives going forward. You can be in our lives if you stop. You cannot if you do not. Please make the choice before tomorrow. I switched to English. I summarized briefly. I sat down. The room was silent for 30 seconds. May's uncle started clapping. Other guests joined. Yihan had walked to me. Yihan said in Mandarin, I am sorry. Please give me a chance. I said, tomorrow. You are going to be at the wedding. You are going to behave. The chance starts tomorrow. May and I got married the next day. May's family attended. May's family behaved. May's mother gave a toast in Mandarin that thanked me specifically and apologized. Look, I need to be honest about what happened next because if I am not honest, then none of this matters. The 2 years after the wedding were genuinely good. Yihan started coming over every week. She would show up with containers of food. She would hand them to May and then go straight for Janelle. She would hold Janelle and speak to her in Mandarin, soft and slow. She helped May with the baby constantly. She was there for the hard nights. She just showed up and did the work. Wei Lin started asking me about my work, and not just in English. He would switch into Mandarin sometimes, like he was trying to meet me where I lived. Su Mei had pulled me aside about 6 months after the wedding. She said, I owe you an apology. What I said about you was wrong. I was following my mom's lead and I should not have been. I am sorry. After that, Su Mei never made a single comment. But here is the thing about me that I need you to understand. I still listen. Every single time Yihan opened her mouth in Mandarin, my brain was processing. I could not turn it off. It was like a program running in the background that I did not know how to close. I had started a new document on my phone. I called it Notes. The document had 12 entries by the time Janelle turned 6 months old. 11 of them said nothing. Just the date and the word nothing. One of them, entry number 12, said unclear, need context. Then came the dinner for Janelle's 6-month birthday. May and I hosted it at our place. Yihan had been holding Janelle for most of the evening. I was across the room getting a drink. Yihan was sitting on the couch with Su Mei next to her. They were looking at Janelle. Yihan was speaking softly in Mandarin. My brain locked on, and I caught a fragment. Yihan said, she has his eyes, poor thing. Everything in my body went still. The feeling came back so fast it scared me. 4 years of sitting in rooms while people made fun of my face and my body and my future children, all of that came rushing back in about 2 seconds. She is holding my daughter in her arms, and she is telling Su Mei that Janelle having my eyes is a bad thing. I did not confront Yihan at the dinner. I held it together. I made it through the rest of the night. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed. I took out my phone. I went to entry 12. I deleted unclear, need context. I typed new words. She has his eyes, poor thing. Yihan to Su Mei, referring to Janelle. The cruelty is back. And just like that, 2 years of good faith collapsed in my chest. I had decided. Yihan had not changed. She had just gotten better at hiding it. I started watching her more carefully. The next week, Yihan came over with a gift for Janelle. It was a traditional Taiwanese outfit. May had mentioned to Yihan a few weeks earlier that she wanted to get a matching set, one Taiwanese outfit and one that represented my side of the family. Yihan brought the Taiwanese one. She did not bring the other one. I know how this sounds, but what I saw was Yihan making a choice. I saw her deciding that Janelle's identity was going to be about one side of the family. Then a few days later, Yihan called May and offered to babysit Janelle alone. May thought it was sweet, but in my head I was thinking, she wants hours with Janelle where I am not in the room and I am not listening. I knew Janelle was too young to understand words, but it did not matter. The fear was about what pattern was being set. May started noticing. At a Sunday dinner, she pulled me into the hallway. She said, what is going on with you? You have been weird around my mom for weeks. I said, nothing. I am just tired from work. May looked at me the way May looks at me when she knows I am not telling the truth. She said, okay. She did not push it, but I could could tell she had filed it away. I needed to talk to someone outside of this family, so I called Chance. Chance has been my best friend since college. I told him everything. When I finished, Chance said, "Bro, you kept a list of 140 things over 4 years. You gave the speech. They changed. And now you are keeping another list? When does it end?" I said, "You did not hear what she said about Janelle's eyes." Chance said, "Okay, tell me exactly what she said." I said, she said she has his eyes. Poor thing. Chance said, "Did you hear the whole sentence?" I opened my mouth to say yes, but I could not say yes. Because the truth was, I had been across the room. I had caught a piece of a sentence, not the whole thing. Chance said, "Look, I am not saying your feelings are wrong. I am saying you have been in this pattern before. Just make sure you are not building something that is not there." But I decided I needed proof. So at the next family dinner, I brought my phone into the living room and set it on the side table near the couch where Yihan usually sat. I opened the voice recorder app and I hit record. I told myself this was reasonable. I did not tell May. After everyone left and May went to bed, I sat in the living room with headphones and I listened. I was looking for it. I was scanning every sentence. And then I found the part I had been looking for. Except it was not what I had been looking for. The comment from the 6-month dinner. Yihan said it again at this dinner. The full sentence was, "She has his eyes, poor thing. She is going to have every boy chasing her when she is older." That was the whole sentence. Poor thing was not about the eyes being bad. Poor thing was about Janelle being so pretty she was going to have to deal with boys. Yihan was bragging. She was saying my daughter had beautiful eyes. My eyes. It was a compliment. I sat on my couch with my headphones in and I stared at my phone. I did not know what to do with that. The next morning, I was in the shower and May was in the bedroom with Janelle. I had left my phone on the nightstand. May wanted to find a photo I had taken of Janelle. She told me later that she had opened my Photos app and then accidentally swiped into my files, and there it was, a file labeled Notes. She opened it. She read 12 entries. She read entry 12. She read the words I had typed on the night of Janelle's 6-month dinner. I came out of the shower and May was sitting on the bed holding my phone. When she finally looked at me, her face was not angry. It was something worse than angry. It was tired. We did not talk about it for the rest of the day. That night, after Janelle was asleep, I was in the kitchen cleaning up. May came in. She stood on the other side of the island. She said, "You are keeping another record of my mother. After everything. After she apologized at our wedding. After 2 years of her trying. After she has been here every single week helping us with our daughter. You are still keeping score." I said, "May, I heard something. At Janelle's dinner. Your mom was talking to Sume and she said Janelle has my eyes, poor thing." I heard her say it. May's face changed. She said, "That is a compliment. In Mandarin, that phrasing means she is going to be beautiful. When you say poor thing after talking about a baby's looks, you are saying the baby is going to be so pretty that it is going to be a problem." My mom was bragging about our daughter. She was telling Sume that Janelle got your eyes and she is going to be gorgeous because of it, and you turned it into evidence. Each word landed like someone dropping stones into water. I said, "I was protecting Janelle." May looked at me and she said, "You were protecting yourself. There is a difference." My mom changed. "You did not." She turned around and walked out of the kitchen. I heard her footsteps go down the hall. I heard Janelle's door open and close. May was sleeping in Janelle's room. She had chosen our daughter's room because our daughter was not keeping a list of every word her grandmother said. Our daughter just let people love her. I picked up my phone, I opened the recording, I put my headphones in, and I hit play from the beginning. I was not scanning this time. I was just listening. The first thing I heard was Yihan in the living room with Janelle. Janelle was making those little baby sounds. Yihan was laughing with my daughter. The kind of laugh that comes out of you when a baby does something small and dumb and perfect. Then I heard something I had not caught the first 3 times. Yihan's voice got soft and low, and she started singing. It was a Mandarin lullaby. I knew it. I knew it in my bones. It was the lullaby my grandmother Brittany used to sing to me when I was small. The same melody, the same words. Yihan was singing it to Janelle. My grandmother learned that song in Taipei in the 60s and brought it home and gave it to me. And now Yihan was giving it to my daughter from the other direction. And it was the same song. I had not heard it the first 3 times because I had been fast forwarding through the parts where nothing bad was being said. About 40 minutes into the recording, I heard Yihan talking to Wei Lin in the kitchen. Their voices were low. Yihan said, "He is a good father." I was wrong about him. 6 words in Mandarin, spoken quietly to her husband while I was in another room. She was not performing. I had listened to this recording 3 times before tonight, and I had not heard Yihan say I was a good father because I had only been listening for proof that she still thought I was a bad one. Sitting there in the dark living room at 3 in the morning, I saw something I had missed. The old entries were proof that Yihan was cruel. The new entries were proof that I could not stop looking for cruelty even when it was not there. The pattern was not hers anymore. It was mine. The next morning, May was distant. I waited until Janelle was in her high chair and then I said, "Can we talk?" May stopped what she was doing. She said, "Talk to my mom first. She deserves to know what you have been doing." I drove to Yihan and Wei Lin's house. Yihan opened the door. She looked at my face and her expression shifted from surprise to something careful and knowing. She did not ask what was wrong. She just stepped aside and said, "Come in." She poured tea. She set a cup in front of me. She waited. So I told her. I told her about the new record. I told her about the comment at Janelle's 6-month dinner and how I had heard it wrong. I told her I had been watching her for weeks. I told her I had recorded a family dinner without anyone knowing. Yihan listened to all of it without interrupting. Then she got up from the table. She walked to a drawer. She pulled out a journal. The cover was soft from being handled. She brought it to the table and put it in front of me. "I have been keeping my own record," she said. I opened it. 2 years of entries, all in Mandarin, all in her handwriting. Each entry was a cruel thing she remembered saying to me. Next to each one, she had written why she said it and what she should have said instead. I turned to the last page with writing on it. The entry was from the previous week. It said, "I told Sume that Janelle has his eyes. I meant it as a compliment. I hope he heard it that way. I am afraid he did not." Something broke open in my chest when I read that. Yihan said, "I knew you were still listening. I have been listening to myself too. I am trying to hear myself the way you hear me. I do not always get it right, but I am trying." For the first time, I did not see the woman who called my future children ugly. I saw a woman who had spent 2 years rewriting herself one entry at a time. Yihan said, "You do not have to forgive me today. You do not have to trust me today, but please do not teach Janelle to to listen for cruelty in the people who love her. That is what I did to May. That is why May was afraid to bring you home. I do not want that for my granddaughter. I said, I am sorry, I was wrong. Yihan said, you were hurt. Hurt people listen differently. I know because I was one. Then Yihan said, would you like to stay for lunch? I am making Janelle's favorite. I said, Janelle is 6 months old. She does not have a favorite. Yihan smiled and said, she does. She just cannot tell you yet. A grandmother knows. I laughed. It came out of me before I could think about it. Real and easy. I drove home and showed May the journal. She sat on the couch and read every page and cried. I deleted the new record and the old one. I deleted the recording. I said, I think I have been keeping score because I was afraid that if I stopped, I would miss the moment it went bad again. But I was so busy watching for it that I almost made it happen. May said, my mom is not perfect. She is never going to be perfect, but she is trying harder than anyone I have ever seen. And you standing up at that rehearsal dinner is the reason she started. You gave her something to live up to. Now, you have to let her. Yihan comes over twice a week now. She speaks Mandarin to Janelle and sometimes slips into English for my benefit, even though she knows I understand both. It is a small kindness. I stopped listening for cruelty. I started listening for effort. The difference has changed everything. Last week, I watched Yihan teaching Janelle a clapping game in Mandarin, the same game my grandmother Brittany taught me 40 years ago in the same language. Two women from different decades, different countries, different reasons for learning the language, connected through a 6-month-old girl who does not know any of this yet. The speech was the foundation. But the foundation is not what you live in. You live in what you build on top of it, and we are still building.